the geology and the direction that we care about, which is obviously underground. And we're now drilling those targets, and we'll see whether or not this one's a big boy too.
Well, hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics, and excited today because joined by Lauren Megaw of Reyna Silver to give us an update on how things are going as they've begun drilling at Medicine Springs, where they have indications of the carbonate replacement deposit. And fortunately, Lauren, appreciate you making some time to join me today to share how things are going and what you guys have been finding out there.
Oh, thank you, Chris. I appreciate you guys having us on the show. And we're fortunate to have a project where we get to see whether or not all these features that we see on surface say, hey, there's something big. I mean, of the 13 features that we look for carbonate replacement deposits, for like the big boys, we've got 10 out of 13 before the first drill hole. We've done the boots on the ground, good geology work, mapping, sampling, geophysics, a whole bunch of geochem studies, because we've got these big, we call jasperoids, so exhaust features that are exposed at surface, which give us a window to what's going on at depth. And we tested that and we got back just beautiful results. And now we get to go and put those pieces together and strategically design drill holes that hopefully will give us an idea of what's going on at depth, whether or not what the surface is telling us, how that relates to the geology and the direction that we care about, which is obviously underground. And we're now drilling those targets, and we'll see whether or not this one's a big boy too.
Well, I imagine that must be a pretty exciting feeling. I know that you've been matching what you found from a historically high-grade area with some of the geophysical, geochemical properties. And I was watching one of the videos you did with Wall Street Silver where you found X marks the spot of where to actually drill. And perhaps you could talk a little bit about that process of, once you've gotten some indications, how you actually find the exact spots that you're targeting.
Yeah, so you're essentially, for us, these jasperoids, which are mineralized structures, they've got really strong trends to the northeast. So, for instance, the first hole was designed to, it was long. Our goal was to be, around 1 kilometer and, go through a couple of these structures, because it's important for us to understand what those are at depth. And the other big part on a carbonate replacement deposit is you have to remember that the magical rock is a carbonate, so a limestone or a dolostone. So we need to make sure that we actually have the magical rock of a significant thickness in our area. So that's one of the other aspects that we were testing with that first hole. And the historic high-grade silver mine that was there, tiny little thing, but that was all in the oxide zone, which is great for gold, but not particularly great for recovery rates. Right. So, because of that, what we care about is the sulfides. And so what we wanted to find out is, where is that oxidation level? Okay, let's figure out where that is, because that gives us an idea for the next targets, what our target depth might be. And we had a geophysic anomaly that we wanted to figure out what that was. So those were the features that we wanted to look at. And so we did is taking those angles of those structures, taking where we knew these features were, and designing a hole that, yes, be long, but checks off as many of those things that we care about. Boom, 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 boom. So moving forward, we have the pieces of information we need to be really strategic with that next drill hole. And one of the cool things with this project is that there was a little bit of drilling in the 80s, 90s. really shallow. The deepest hole was like 150 meters. And because they were putting together a silver oxide open pit was the idea that they were going to do. And what we've done is we've come out of the historic portion. We've come almost 2 kilometers out to what we call the Silver Butte area, where there was a couple of little artisanal pickings, right? Like little tiny prospectors pits. That's also where we're getting some of our best results in that jasperoid study. So we get to test something that hasn't been tested before and see whether or not we can put these pieces together. And, that's one of the other aspects at Medicine Springs. We've got almost a 2-kilometer halo of high-grade silver results coming out in these mineralized structures at surface. And, when you're seeing 800, 900, 1,200 grams per ton silver in the exhaust, you go, where did that come from? How is this related? How do these pieces fit together? And can we put this puzzle, outline the puzzle so that we can fill in and really figure out what's going on in the district?
Yeah, it must be an exciting time in the process right now, especially because I know in one of your other calls you mentioned that when you do find a CRD deposit that's big, it's often high grade. And so far, is that what things are looking on track here?
Well, I mean, we'll find out. Assay results are always important with these things, and with CRDs, one of the big aspects is or with CRDs or any project, right? You're building a painting. I like to paint, and so you've got to sketch things out, and then you're putting the layers in, and that's the big part that we're doing now. We'll see what kind of numbers we get back, but what matters to us at this current spot is putting those pieces together. And we'll see when the assay results come back. Unfortunately, labs in Nevada right now are 6 to 8 weeks if you're lucky. So we'll be waiting on those. And the other aspect is that we believe in doing a drilling campaign, like a whole phase. So instead of putting out a single hole here and a single hole here and a single hole here, the idea is that you put out the full drilling campaign out together so you can put everything into context. The idea of plan your dive your dive, report your dive. And we'll see how the pieces fit together, and we're learning right now as much as we can and see where we go from there.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And perhaps you touched on this a little bit, but just in terms of the timeline, so people can get an idea of how that's going, how long you've actually been drilling, and when you begin to get some of the results back and have an idea of what you've found.
We started drilling mid-September, and we'll be drilling as far as we can into the winter. And then after that, realistically, sometime in Q1 is probably when we'll have results that we can put out. It's going to depend on the labs in a lot of ways. It's going to depend on, when we decide to end the current campaign as well. But somewhere around the first quarter.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Leaves people with a lot to look forward to, and obviously you're part of the investor relations as well. And could you just let folks know if they have questions, want to get more information as we wait for the results to come back? What's the best way to find you?
Well, if people have questions, comments, concerns, jokes, we're on Twitter, we're on LinkedIn, we've got an Instagram, and of course, people can email us at info@Reyna Silver. We always look forward to answering questions, and we've got some interesting stuff up on the website as well if people are curious what the pieces are.
Well, I appreciate that, Lauren. Appreciate you making some time. We do have a lot of fans of Reyna Silver who watch the show, and they can also find out more at reynasilver.com. And just will be fun to see how things come back. It looks like you're on the right track so far with a lot of good indications of silver out there, and appreciate you joining me today, and we'll look forward to see how things come back.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for having me.